All right, Daf Kuf Tes, Monday's Daf. And we've been talking about Chaticha Nasas Nevela, coupled with Min B'mina in a bottle, and we had touched on whether or not Efsher L'Seichta is Shaykh. Efsher L'Seichta means whether or not the Isser, when it's pilate, can expel from the source Isser, and therefore now make that Chaticha Mutter. So we're going to pick it up on Kuf Chesam Beis, 13 lines from the bottom. The Efsher L'Seichta Atzmai, that idea of whether or not the Isser can actually leave and now be matter that original Chaticha, that's going to be Tanoi. That's a Machlokes Tanoim. De Tanya. The Brisa says Tipas Cholav Shenafla Ala Chaticha. Let's see, have a little tipas chalav, a drop of milk falls on a piece of meat. Kivan shenosna tam chaticha. Once that little drop of milk is noisein tammed into the chaticha, hachaticha asmanas nevela, right? That's chanan, and therefore vayser is kol chatichas kulim, because now it itself goes ahead and makes all the other chatichas also aser. Mipnei shehein mina, because of the whole min b'mina in a bottle thing. That's divrei Rabbi Yehuda. But v'chachamim maimer ad shetitein tam bereitev ubekipa ubechatichais. You have to have enough chalav to be noisein tam into all the different products of the meat. And in a chanam, if there's only enough tam to give tam into that particular chaticha, but not the rest of what's in that whole pot, even that chaticha will become mutter, because the tam that goes into that chaticha now gets nisbatal amongst all the other things in the pot. So that's shitas chachamim. So avdem amar Rabbi, near and different Rabbi Yehuda b'shlei near v'lekisa, maskim to Rabbi Yehuda shita of iser, as long as you didn't cover or stir the pot, b'shlei near v'lekisa. But v'divrei chachamim, maskim to the heter of the chachamim b'shlei near v'kisa, when you did stir or cover that pot, because the near and the kisa, that action causes there to be more of disbursement of the tam. So that's the brisa. Now we break this down. My loy near v'loy kisa. What did Rebbe mean when he said that Rabbi Yehuda is going to be near in dvarav when you were not near v'kisa? Ilamed loy near klav v'loy kisa klala. You didn't do anything. So mivla bola mifla loy polit. So the chaticha that the chalav fell on has now absorbed that chalav, but it wasn't pilot into any other chatichas. So there's no reason to aser the other chatichas, as Rabbi Yehuda had said. So of course it had to have been somehow mixed or connected with the other chatichas. You must say that when Rabbi said you didn't do the near and the kisa, that was in the beginning, before that chaticha got the tam. But avada, you had to have been near at the end, after that chaticha has now gotten the tam of the cholov. And similarly, but the question is, why is that whole pot going to be usher, according to Rabbi Yehuda? Amai, habola, it absorbed v'hapolet, but then it spit it out. So it must be, kasavar efshar l'seichta is usher. You have to learn that what Rabbi is saying is that when it's efshar l'seichta, even if it's efshar, for that tam cholav to be pilot out of the chaticha, the original chaticha stays usher. And we don't say efshar l'seichta mutter, but rather efshar l'seichta is usher. That's where we get to see Shitas Rebbe on that side of the Kitanoin. So now moving over to Tamid Aleph. Now this that Rebbe says that near and divrei Rabbi Yehuda, where you were not near and you were not kisei, and we're only understanding that to be in the beginning. So the Gemara Machlal de Rabbi Yehuda savar ki near metchila v'ad seif or kisa metchila v'ad seif. It's going to be usher because Rebbe was limiting Rabbi Yehuda to be near and divrei Rabbi Yehuda only when you didn't do it in the beginning. But am I frek the Gemara? Haloi bola klal. That first chaticha never was boilea the tam cholav, since it was already near from the beginning and it was immediately dispersed, and therefore it was already batal b'shishim right away. To which the Gemara answers, Emalei near yafa yafa v'lei kisa yafa yafa. Rabbi Yehuda is going to say it's going to be usher because you didn't quite disperse that tam of the cholav right away through a proper near and a proper kisa. But anyway, the point for us is that we've established the shita of efshar l'seichta usher in Shitas Rebbe. Now we got to show the other side of the coin. Omer mar v'divrei chachamim kishenir v'kisei. That Rebbe was near in the divrei chachamim to be matir everything when it was near v'kisei. So my near my kisa. Ilay near b'seif v'lei near b'tchila, if you only did it at the end, and v'kisa b'seif v'lei kisa b'tchila, and you only did the covering at the end. But ho'amrit near in divrei Rabbi Yehuda b'ha. We already said that he was maskim to Rabbi Yehuda in that case where he didn't cover it in the beginning and he didn't mix it in the beginning because it's already become usher. Ella must be near metchila v'yad seif v'kisa metchila v'yad seif. The whole time it was already near and it was covered, and that's when it'll be mutter. Mechlal d'Rabbanan Savri near b'seif v'lei near b'tchila. That would imply that Rebbe's only maskim in that case, but the chachamim themselves hold that it was only near b'seif and not near b'tchila, and kisa b'seif v'lei kisa b'tchila, and that's when it's going to be mutter. If you're telling me it's going to be mutter, even though that near v'kisa was only done b'seif, must be you're going to say alma kasavri efshar l'seichta mutter, because even that original chaticha now can become mutter once the tam was pilate from it. So you have a raya now for the shitas chachamim that efshar l'seichta is mutter. Frak the Gemara Amar le Ravacha medifti l'Ravina mimayde be'efshar l'seichta pligi. Who says that's actually the machlekes? Dilma efshar l'seichta divrei kol aser. Maybe the idea that efshar l'seichta everybody's masking it's going to stay aser. But what's the machlekes between Rebbe and the chachamim? It's a different issue. Whether or not you are masking about the whole idea of min b'minai, and the whole issue is about that original chaticha, whether or not when it's nasas nevela if it is going to become batal bichlal, because Rabbi Yehuda letame da amar min b'mina lebatal v'Rabbanan letamahu da amar min b'mina batal. But the Gemara doesn't like that, because hi mai, because iyamar bishlam d'Rabbanan b'min b'mina hachak Rabbi Yehuda svirlu. It would be fine and all would be right in the world if Shitas Rabbanan in this brisa would at least hold like Rabbi Yehuda klape the halacha of min b'mina lebatal ube efshel l'saychle pligi, and they're arguing as we want to suggest about efshel l'saychle whether it be mutter aser. Therefore hainu dikko amar Rabbi nirin divrei Rabbi Yehuda b'ha v'divrei chacham b'ha. That's when Rabbi would pick and choose when he likes Rabbi Yehuda and when he likes the chachamim. Eli amar efshel l'saychle divrei kol aser. But if you want to say that really everybody's maskim, the piece of meat can never become mutter again, and v'hacha is simply b'min b'mina k'mifgei, and that's when Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabban are arguing about hay nirin divrei Rabbi Yehuda ve'ein nirin mi boile. It should have said I'm maskim to Rabbi Yehuda here, I'm not maskim to Rabbi Yehuda there. It wouldn't say I'm maskim to Shitas chachamim. It has to be that Rabbi saying I agree with Rabbi Yehuda and I disagree with the chachamim on this front, and likewise the opposite in the other way. And the Gemara is very confident that this has to be the issue about whether or not it's efshel l'saychle is mutter aser and not about the mimamina v'sulei midi, just based on the way Rabbi was speaking about the Shitas Rabbi Yehuda and the chachamim. Zok the Mishnah, hakchal, the udder of a cow, which has the unique property of being both meat and containing in it milk. The halacha is, before milk comes out of a cow, it doesn't have the property of being milchik, but there's a process to how you're supposed to actually prepare the kachal for its achila. So zok the Mishnah, kachal kairai umaitzi es chalavai. You tear it open and you take out the milk that's inside. Loi kirai, if you don't tear it open, but rather you just cook it the way it is, eina oiver alav, you're not going to be oiver, meaning you're not going to get malchus for basar b'cholav, because there's no isser of basar b'cholav on milk that never came out of its mother. Now, similarly, zok the Mishnah, halev, let's say you have a heart, which of course there the problem is going to be about the blood. Now, even though malicha will typically always take care of blood, but not blood that is pooled together. And therefore, karay might say as dama, you got to tear it open and take out the dam. But like karay, if you don't tear it open and just you cook it the way it is, eina iverlov, you're not going to have a problem of basar b'cholav, because as Rashi speaks out based on the Gemara in Krisis on Chav Beis, we're talking about the lave of a bird, which is very small. You don't have a kazayas to give you an actual isser kares. But if a person ate a heart of, let's say, a cow or a sheep, which was not kare before cooking, avadi you'd get kares, because inside that lave, there's going to be a kazayas of dam. All right, turning over to Talmud Beis, Zok the Gemara. Our Mishnah had this expression of Eina Oiver Olav. Zok the Gemara, Omer Rabbi Zera, Omer Rav, Eina Oiver Olav Umutter. When we say Eina Oiver Olav, that's not like you're not over deraisa, but you're over derabanan. No, it's not even Asur midrabanan. It's Mutter. Frak the Gemara B'Hoanan Tanan. We learned in the Mishnah Eina Oiver Olav, which taka sounds me'aver hu deloy avar ha'isur ika, that there should be an Asur derabanan, and that the milk inside of the kachal is still going to be Asur midrabanan. To which the Gemara says, no, but din hu di isur namileka, there isn't even an Asur derabanan. So how do you explain this lashon of Eina Oiver Alav? It's agav the seifa. Va'idi de boila misna seifa. Halev karai, the heart has to be torn. Umaitzi es damai v'lei karo Eina Oiver Alav. And that if you don't tear open the lave, there won't be an Isser Deraisa. So Hasam Ma'aver Hudloi over Ha Isur Ika. There will be an Isser Heyais, not an Isser Deraisa. So Tananami Reisha Eina Oiver Alav. So the whole thing's Agav the Sefer. Now, why by the Sefer are you Oiver, even though you're not going to get the Einish? Because of the Isser Chatzi Shir Asam Natayra. You're not allowed to have even a Chatzi Shir of the dam. But by the milk inside the Kechal, inside the other, is Hasnish Kain milk. It's still inside the animal. It's not like blood, which has a din of blood even inside the animal. So again, Rabbi Zeir B'Shem Rav is saying that there isn't even an Isser Drabanan if you cook this Kechal with the Cholav inside of it. So the Gemara, Lema Messiah lay, let's say the following Bryce is going to be a riot to this sheet of Rav, because a Kechal, Kairei Motzes Cholavai. You tear it open and you take out the milk. Loi Karai, if you don't tear it open, Eina Oiver Olav. And Halev, Kairei Umaitzi Es Damai. Loi Karai, if you didn't tear it open, Kairei Le'achar Bishulei Mutter. And you tear it open after it's cooked, which Rashi later is going to explain that means it's roasted. It'll be mutter. But the mashmais is Levu Deboy Kriya. We only need to have the Kriya after it's cooking or roasting if it was never opened beforehand. But it only says it about the Lev. Ava Kachal Lo Boy Kriya. Because by the Kachal, we're saying it's Mamish Mutter. Kolzman, it hasn't come out of the Kachal. So L'chari have a raya from this Brisa for Shitas Rav, but Zok the Gemara, Dilma Lev Hu Desagi Lebe Kriya. Maybe all the Brisa means is that you only need to do Kriya for the Lev. Because of the nature of the way the Lev is, it's very smooth and it's not absorbent. All you have to do is tear it open and it comes out. And that's the point of the Brisa. Aval Kachal Lo Sagi Lebe Kriya. But the point of the Brisa is that it's not enough to do only Kriya by the Kachal. Because the Kriya won't be effective by the Kachal, because now that you've done this bishul with the Kachal, the Kriya won't be enough because it's now been absorbed into the basar of the Kachal. But that's not the case by the Lev, and that could be the point of the Brisa. So that's all Lashon number 1 of Shitas Rav, that it's mamish mutter to have the chalav that's inside the kachal. But Dika Diamri, a whole other lashon, that Omer Rabbi Zera Marav Eina Oivra Olav Ve'aser. There will be an Isser Drabanan of eating the chalav of this geshachten animal, even if it never came out of the kachal. And Lema Messiah Lay, let's say our Mishnah is a raya, because Eina Oivra Olav, but sounds like from the Mishnah, Me'avar Hud Loy Avar, Ober Ha Yisur Ika, to which the Gemara now is Deicha, Bedin Hud Isur Namileka. No, I'll tell you really, there isn't any Isser Drabanan. You don't have a raya from our Mishnah, because Va'ai did the Boila Mishnah Seifa Halev Karo Moitzias Dame Le Karo Eina Oivra Olav. We're doing it agav the Seifa, where it talks about the lave, the heart. Tahasa Mavar Hud Loy Avar Ha Yisur Ika. So Tonanami Reisha Eina Oivra Olav, but in a Chanami really it is mutter lichatchilas. You don't have a raya from our Mishnah to say, like this second lashon of Rav, that it's osur mirabanan. All right, let's try to bring a raya. Tashma from a brisa. Hakechal kairai umaitzias chalavai. You tear it open, you take out the chalav. However, loy karai eina oiver olav, and halev kairai umaitzias damai loy karai kair la'acher bishulei mutter. This is the same price we said beforehand. You now have to do the kriya after it's cooked, which we're teaching as roasted, and then it becomes mutter. But it sounds like levu de boy kriya, avol kechal le boy kriya, and it's mutter right away lechatchila as it is, which the Gemara says nishkein raya from the brisa, because dima levu de sagi le bekriya, avol kechal le sagi le bekriya. As we said, there's a chiluk between the nature of a kechal and a lev, how smooth it is and how absorbent the basar is. Tanya Kalishna Kama de Rav. Let's bring a raya from a brisa, like the first lashon of Rav, that's going to be mamish mutter. Kechal shebishle bechal lava is mutter. If the kechal was roasted with its own milk, it's going to be mutter. Keva, that's the fourth stomach of the animal, shebishle bechal lava is aser, because it's left the kechal already, and now that chalav has a din of chalav. And the brisa breaks it down. Uma hefresh bein zela zeh, zeh konos b'meyav, zeh ein konos b'meyav. But what do you see from the brisa? That kolzman it's in the kechal, it's mamish mutter, which supports the first lashon of Shitas Rav. Now, for Gemara, when we talk about this kriya, ketzad karai, how do you do it? Omer of Yehuda, karish asvi if you do it horizontally and vertically, v'tachai bakaisel, and you squeeze against the wall, and as you squish out anything that might be inside the kachal, any remaining milk. Omer le Rebbe Lazar l'shameh. Rebbe Lazar one time told his shamish, kara liv ani eichel, tear it from me, I'm going to roast it and eat it. So for Gemara, my kamashmalan mas nisan, that's not a chiddush, no, because on kamashmalan to leib inan shesi v'arev v'tachai bakaisel. That extra chumra he wasn't makbid on, and he just simply giving a simple kriya would be enough. Amr le Yalta le Rav Nachman. Yalta told her husband Rav Nachman, Michti, called Aser lan Rachman Ashar le Kavase. Whatever the Torah asered, there's always a corresponding heter. You're always going to have that other thing that has the similar tzura but is mutter. What's the reason for that? Some Balei Musar suggest because the Torah wants to show us that the reason why we don't have this dvar aser is not because it's disgusting, but because rather the Torah said so. Hashem said so. And to illustrate that, we'll have the same kind of thing in a mutter form. So what are the examples that we're talking about? Aser lan dama. Torah asered blood, but shara lan kabda. Hashem was matter the kaveh, the liver, which is basically a collection of hardened blood. Nida, the Torah asers nida, but you have dam toihar. After a woman gives birth, that's dam, that's tahar. Chaylev behema, you have chaylev chaya, which is essentially the same kind of thing, but one's kosher, one's mutter. Chazer, the Torah asered chazer, but moiched de shibuta, but it's matter the brains of a shibuta fish, which tastes a lot like chazer. Girusa lishna de kavra. Girusa, which is a not kosher bird, tastes the same as a fish tongue. Ashes ish. Obviously, it's usher to live with an Ashes ish, but it's mutter begrusha b'chaya ba'ala, even though her husband is still alive. Ashes ach, which is usher, yavama is going to be mutter. Kusis, you can't live with a gaita. Yafas tayar. So zok yalta be'inan lemechel bisr b'chalva. I want to eat something that has the same taste as basar b'chalav. Where can I find that? So Amalhu Rav Nachman l'tabaches, or Rav Nachman told his cooks to make zvikula kachale. Take the kachal, meaning that udder, and roast it, because that will have essentially the same taste of basar b'chalav, but it'll be mutter basar b'chalav as we were discussing. So I want to infer from here that there's no problem with the fakin and parv cheese and these kinds of things, or certainly an impossible burger, all this kinds of foods that taste like they're not kosher, because you see that's what Yalta was saying, and there was no real problem with that. You could take a look at Reb Zilberstein, who discusses that over here in Chashukei Chemed. He wants to be machalik. He wants to suggest perhaps a chilik between when the Torah is matter something or when you're trying to make something taste treif. But anyway, getting back to our Gemara, Frekta Gemara v'anan tznan kairei, that you first have to be kaireya the kachal. So how could Rav Nachman tell his cooks to roast this kachal without first tearing it? So the Gemara, hu l'kedera. Rav Nachman was saying the Mishnah was only talking when you're cooking the kachal in a pot, in a kedera. But if you're going to roast it, you don't even have to do any kriya at all, because the roasting process will actually let the chalav drip out of it. And the way Rashi seems to understand is that Rav Nachman was arguing with Rav and Rabbi Lazar from beforehand, because they did hold you do need a kriya. Ay v'hakatani shebishlei, that you cooked that kachal with the milk and it's going to be mutter. And that sounds like di'evet in, but lichatchila lo, you can't do it without the kriya, which the Gemara says, hu adin dafil lichatchila. You are allowed to cook the kachal even without tearing it open. V'aydi de kaboy lemisni seifa, about a keva moving over v'damed aleph shebishla b'chelba is asura, tafilu diavad nami loy, tona nami reisha shebishla. So Rav Nachman won't be strict from the brisa either way. And we shall stop here and pick it up with Kisal Rabbi Elazar for tomorrow's daf.